Hi guys, good morning. Let's do a read. Alright, so the first card that I do see coming out is the Purity card in the reverse, and it is next to the Time to Do It Differently card in the reverse. So with that being together, I feel like something that you might be trying to do or achieve is not exactly maybe like the real you, and you're having these realizations. We do have the Knight of Cups here in the reverse and the Purity card in the reverse, and so some of you guys are either finding out that maybe you're not truly really for something or someone, or that maybe something or someone isn't really for you. You're having these realizations, and I don't honestly see that it's bringing you down too much. It's just helping you understand, honestly, like the truth of things. And you're somebody who's been wanting to free yourself possibly from these feelings that you've been having inside for a really long time. And you didn't know what to do with all of it. You didn't know why you felt so different than everybody else around you. And you didn't even also maybe even know that there was anywhere that you could go with your difference. A lot of us think that where we are and what we see around us is what it is. That's what we're told. And we learn as we grow and expand that that is not true. We're really lucky to have the internet these days to be able to do those kind of things. When I was young, we did not have it. Didn't start using the internet until I was 24 years old, so it's really nice to be able to research things and look things up and learn, and you're just starting to see that knowledge is power. With the Knight of Cups in the reverse and the Death and the Rising up in the reverse, it could be two things. Honestly, it could be an ego death for some of you guys, where you're, again, we've been talking about not hanging out with pages or knights anymore. It's against the rules in this chapter because we're kings and queens and we're looking for emperors or empresses. We're working towards being emperors and empresses. And we understand that for those of us that are in relationships, we would never ask anybody to break free. If it's healthy, that's wonderful. And that's beautiful. That is the example that we all work towards and want in our life. So we're really grateful for all of you guys that are in healthy relationships. And we definitely all strive to be like that. So keep leading by example in that matter. But for those of us who have been unhealed and confused for a very long time about many things, it is very necessary to make sure that we resolve those issues within us before we begin relationships. Otherwise, we're carrying all these past burdens into these new things, and it's not fair to the people that we involve ourselves with. So those are the things that we're working on and towards. And you guys have been doing a great job at it. You're just starting to see that it's not really about anybody telling you to do anything. It's about what's doing best for yourself. You're starting to see that there's a standard and a basic way to do things. And it's honestly, what somebody told me, why are you changing so much when it's already working, Tara? Why are you rearranging all the time? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Every time I come around, you're doing some random shit. And I thought, oh, I'm just doing this or I'm just doing that. But then, you know what? You're going to start to realize that your bones and your joints and your body starts to ache over time. Your heart starts to break. Relationships take a toll on you. And all those things that you were doing didn't even last. It starts to make you wonder a little bit, Less is more, you guys, in a big way. Make sure that you take some time off this year to enjoy the summer and enjoy nature, because nature is where the divine is, and it's how you connect with spirit. It's when you hear the birds chirping and you smell the trees and the leaves that brings back memories from when you were young. And get a bike if you can this year, because I feel like what's going on for you guys is kind of like the death of your old ego, which would be the Knight of Cups in the reverse. A lot of us were knights. Knights is somebody who is flirty and uncommittal. And even if you were somebody who thought, I am committal, there was unhealed wounds within yourself that needed to be resolved, and so you were not quite pure yet. You didn't know this. And it does say time to do it differently in the reverse. You thought by moving forward, you were changing your life. But you didn't need to go anywhere to work on what you needed to. It was inside of you, because we manifest what we are. And no matter how far we go, you're having those realizations that you can't go any further than where you are, because the problem resides within yourself. And for some of us, our issue was that we kept getting distracted on Knight of Cups relationships, which are people with potential, and they're very attractive, and they have dreams and goals. But they don't understand that when we give the universe multiple messages, it confuses the universe. We didn't know at the time that by having 10 ideas at once, we were getting nowhere, because that's not how manifestation works. We started to focus on energy and law of attraction, and we understand something like that. And that's what it's about. It's not that you don't fit in or that it's not for you. It's that you might need somebody to teach it to you or explain it to you in a way that you understand. Some people like math. Some people like reading. It's about learning as much as you can that you don't understand, and researching it, and just like doing what you need to do to be proactive when you don't feel well. You're starting to understand that the people around you are not to blame for the things that you don't feel well about. And even if they did things to you, you have the power to change your thought process and your mind. And by doing that, you will release positivity into the world rather than negativity. When you guys distance yourself from people, you miss out on experiences. And we make up a lot of different excuses for why we don't care about that, without understanding that the universe is trying to guide us somewhere. And we're being stubborn, and we're being ignorant. And without knowing it, the devil really does have a hold of us during those times in our life. You should get to a point here soon where even when you start to complain about things, it's going to make you feel a little guilty. We go through a phase. Sometimes we go through confusion. And then when we figure out what happened, we go through anger, rage, sadness, you know what I mean? But then you'll start to feel like you should notice that your life is improving, because if you really truly were in a situation where you were wronged, a lot of people cut ties with those people, but they still stay mad. You'll notice that the conversations, if you are still talking about whatever made you mad to the new people in your life, you might notice that honestly over time, they'll say the similar things that the old people in your life told you, and recommend different ways to deal with it as well. And if that's happening in your life, then you'll know that you are still unhealed, and you need to definitely resolve that issue. And that's okay if that's the case. There's nothing wrong with that. The rising up is coming up in the reverse, because you're going to need to deal with things that are inside of you, and it is okay. We did, I totally understand how it can feel to have to face things within us that bring up emotion. But I want to let you know that honestly, that feeling that you feel, it's not as bad as you might think it is. You have to go through a death of your old identity. This is probably, for a lot of you guys, the dark night of the soul. So you might want to look that up. If you're somebody who's just struggling a lot right now in general, like, you might want to look up the dark night of the soul, to be honest. Because it's a specific time in our life where we feel very, 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 very down. But if you understood the meaning of it and why, the purpose, you know what I mean? Which is breaking down a false identity that we've created for ourselves to make ourselves not want to put in the work to get our life back to where we need it, which I explained in one of my videos. It's just like if you go on a hike into the forest, which I've seen a lot of people go on hikes that don't even like to hike, and they get freaking all whiny and shit, partially into the trail. It's kind of how it's going for you right now. You're on a hike and you don't want to fucking be there. And you think that just because you are whining and making the trip miserable for everybody around you, that, what do you want me to do? Fucking bring a hell? How do you want me to? What do you? The chariot? Like, you want something to come in and get you out of this situation, but you're strong enough and you're smart enough to actually do it. You're one of those kids that's fucking big enough to walk, and you're sitting there being a crybaby and you're just ruining the whole damn trip for everybody type attitude. I started to realize that even with myself, you guys, when I was in situations with the law, I did not want to obviously do the shit I was supposed to do. It's a lot of dumb shit. You have to jump through so many random hoops. I tried everything to, like, fool my mom and my sister, everyone, my brothers, everybody. They just always had it. They knew me. And at one point I thought, motherfuck, dude. I said, I'm gonna have to legit do everything right. Because they just kept catching me and blackmailing me and everything, you know what I mean? I know I was doing some crazy shit, to be honest, so I can't even actually be mad, but I just, like, surrendered at one point. I'm not even kidding you. I fought it for many years, but I remember having my realization of surrendering. I thought the only literal way that I am going to get out of this situation, like with my daughter, is if I do everything right. And then nobody could tell on me anymore. That's why I tell you guys a lot of the story too, because I was tired of people telling my story for me. I was tired of people telling anybody about me. I don't really like people speaking on my own damn behalf. I can tell my own damn story, you know what I mean? I don't really, like, tell people what I went through because I'm looking for friends. I just talk a lot. So I got really upset, honestly, if somebody's talking for me. I just don't like it. Some of you guys might feel like that too. So I just told myself that day I wasn't gonna be blackmailed anymore. And like I told you guys, you know, I had already went through this would have been my 7th. Well, the one I was gonna begin, it was treatment number 8. I kept graduating them, but then I kept going back to my old ways. And that's why they say you have to be ready to quit. Oh, it really doesn't matter. And it's not a lie. That day, I picked up the phone and I called CPS because I was already involved. Me and my brother had gotten in a fight that day. And he had voice recorded me. And he was saying if I didn't do what he wanted, he was gonna turn it in. And that was just when I was sitting there thinking, you know what I mean? Like, fuck this shit, man. I'm not gonna let anybody have power over me. I don't want to be in these situations anymore. And I also still want to just, like, be who I want to be. So it's the year that I broke free of, like, my mom and letting anybody have power over me anymore, threaten me or scare me. And even though I needed it and it was really good for me to go through what I did, I just specifically remember that realization of surrendering and thinking, you have to do everything right. You're fucking doing this the way you're working. Sometimes we work so hard to make something work, and we make it really, honestly, in the end, last a little bit longer. And it takes all of our energy, and everybody that knows this very well looks at us, and around us, we're kind of just like drifting away. We're not happy with the thing that we're working so hard to keep in our life. And we're also not close to the friends and the family in our life anymore either, because we know that they know what's up. So if that sounds like you, I hope that story helps. But it does say that you're not moving forward and not rising up because some things inside of you're not addressing. And until you do that, it's going to be tricky for you to move forward. But what I can tell you is that in the future, right after you accept this ego death within yourself, look up the Dark Night of the Soul today. But it does straight up say, like, if you go through this and stop looking at it like this is such a negative thing, and you actually look up the defining of Dark Night of the Soul, it's actually really a great thing, and it makes a lot of sense. It's just saying that, we have built up a false identity of what we see ourselves looking like, and it's because we've been hurt. We've been put through a lot of trauma, and so I told you guys how the brain works. It does not like to feel uncomfortable, so the brain is very, very intelligent. It defends you anytime you feel that. And I don't know if you realize that, but what that is inside of you is your alter ego. And so you guys, I've done it too, dude. Like, literally. And basically what happens is that the divine comes in and they break down your whole world. And you have to, it's going to be the whole damn thing. Like, you're moving out of a house and into a brand new one, and you can't take anything. You have to start from scratch. So you can picture that's the same as your life for some of you, if that's what's happening. If you just feel like you're losing one thing after the next, and you're like, what is going on? Why is this happening to me? I don't understand. And you're just hanging on, grasping for dear life, like, to whatever you have. That you're going through the dark night of the soul, possibly, and you might want to look it up, because it's not for a bad reason. It's because we've been so wounded and hurt. Some of us from childhood, some of us from today. All different things can hurt anybody. Some of you guys had great childhoods, but you fell in love, and even one love can break somebody's heart forever. I've seen it, all different circumstances. Some of you guys miss a parent that might have passed away. Some of you guys may miss a job that you lost. Like, loss and grief, it doesn't have to just be something that's passed away. It can be anything in this freaking world that you loved, and everybody loves differently. And that's a wonderful thing, you guys. Don't look at the fact that, oh, you had a broken heart, like, what, never love again. Why wouldn't you? Do you know that there are people out there that don't love at all? Like, truly. They really are meanies. And then, you know what? Honestly, by you withholding your greatness, we're missing out. People out here that do want good lovers are missing out because you're too smart, you know what I mean? And you're being all stubborn, and you're not trying to love nobody now because somebody broke your heart. But it's all in your thinking, It's all in if you're positive or not. I tell you what, I did not think that I was going to, I knew I would maybe love one more time, but I've always been a really big loving person. And after Edward and Chris, Dempsey, and Lawrence, because I tried dating, obviously, after me and Zeke broke up, but me and Zeke were together for like almost 8 years, so it was like really weird. And I don't even know. I'm sure you guys probably feel like that too. But don't give up. I didn't. And I just feel content now. I'm like actually not even looking for anybody to live with me anymore. It's funny how that happens. And you know what's interesting? I've had people that honestly do want what I used to want. I used to want somebody here to replace what me and Zeke had in the, you know, the family setting and dinner and us and blah blah blah, sharing the bills, you know, and blah blah blah, all that. So that's what I was like trying to push on, like Edward and Chris and Lawrence. And Lawrence in specific told me, actually both of them, so did Edward. They both said, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? This was your shit before I got down here. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we're a family now. And they're like, they don't even have kids. So what, I'm just like giving my kids to them and they're gonna come in here and pay half my bills instantly. If that was the case, we probably should have said that straight up from the get-go, girls or guys. If that's something that we want, we need to start looking at love like a resume or a job resume, you know, application, something along those lines. Because I told Lawrence in particular we were gonna come home and drink cocoa on the deck, and it was gonna be a fantasy life. I don't know if I was lying or not, but I did catch on to things like that. And that's what being a Knight of Cups is. It's somebody that has potential, but it's still wounded. And this is a Knight of Cups in the reverse. When we go into new relationships wounded, we're not our pure self. We have potential, but we need to focus in on what we're actually saying to people. And we need to be clear on what we want to both those people and to the universe. Because we're really confusing everybody when we don't have a clear idea of what we want, and when our ideas are changing. And I see it happen all the time. You'll be like, you hear somebody that you're really, you know, you hear somebody, okay, basically you'll meet somebody that's really sporadic, and they'll tell you what they got going on, and it'll sound really awesome. And so you're like, wow, that person has a lot of energy. They're very spunky. Seems like they got a lot of ideas that they're going after. Great person. As a smart person yourself, you obviously would already know the process to the steps that they would need to take, you know, maybe to get to that direction, right? And let's say you see them again. Next thing the person's telling you is they're fucking doing some random shit. This is their new idea. As I said, you're a smart person, so you understand that even the idea they told you last week is a very large and time-consuming idea. So you're just wondering now where the fuck they're going to find the time to do idea number 2. And then you leave there with more questions if you didn't ask them even right then. And the next time you see this person, they got another fucking idea. There's no damn way you're doing all that in your head. You're thinking. You start to realize this person that you're around is a Knight of Cups in reverse. That, yes, definitely has the potential to do any one of those ideas, but they're all over the place. With respect. I've been there too. Actually, I had a counselor tell me one time I needed to slow down. And I said, oh, I'm just gonna, okay, because I was like doing like 50 things at a time probably. Because like, that's how my body deals with pain. I'll throw myself into ideas, and some of you guys do that too. Some of you guys might get new jobs. You might get new relationships. You might start new projects. When you are probably really in your masculine energy more than your feminine energy, that's where you see pain kind of go into work. Where you see the ones that are kind of more in their feminine energy, they're going to probably express it more in crying. And then you got the ones that don't cry and fucking work too much. So just find yourself in where you are as far as how you express your emotions. But that's what's going on here. I do see that you're going to recover from all this. It's just about honestly realizing it, that this is how you would think differently, and that is how you will manifest change and difference into your life. So I love you guys, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.